Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today. Get ready to burrow with us
Ooh, I like that.
into Melanie Cheng's new novel, The Burrow.
Sounds intriguing already.
So picture this,
Okay.
an Australian family,
Hmm.
still reeling, 4 years after their baby daughter drowns.
Oh, wow.
And in the middle of the COVID pandemic, no
This,
less,
of course, adds another layer.
they decide, hey, let's get a rabbit.
A rabbit.
Right.
Really?
And as if that's not enough,
What more could happen?
Grandma decides to move in, too.
Oh, boy. That's a lot.
Sounds like a recipe for, I don't know, maybe some family drama.
Definitely. And that's exactly what Cheng explores, right?
Exactly.
Using all that external stuff, the pandemic and the pet and, well, another person in the house to show us what's really going on underneath, in this family.
It's like she's peeling back the layers.
Exactly.
And for this deep dive,
Yes.
we've got a really cool mix of sources.
Oh, tell me.
Early reviews, some info about Melanie Cheng herself.
The author. Right.
Yep. And we even peeked at what Goodreads readers are saying.
What fun.
So it's like
Behind the scenes look.
exactly those juicy bits you'd get in a good book club, and you're in the club with us today.
I love that idea.
And from all these sources, a few things really jump out.
Like what?
Grief, how families work, the dynamics, and the surprising ways we find comfort.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Right. Everyone's talking about the rabbit,
Ah, the rabbit, of course.
the symbol of hope for the family.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Totally.
Like Jacqueline, she's an author and reviewer.
Right.
She was blown away by what she called the rabbit's transformative power.
Wow, transformative power.
Makes you think, why a rabbit? Of all things.
Right. Why a rabbit?
What is it about this little creature, that makes it so powerful symbolically?
Yeah, some reviewers see it as representing fragility,
Fragility.
a rabbit itself,
Right, delicate.
but also the family.
Oh, I see.
So vulnerable, still, after their loss.
Especially with the novel being set during the Melbourne COVID lockdowns.
Oh, good point.
Adds a whole other level of, pressure, right,
You
to a
talk-
family that's already struggling.
Like a pressure cooker, maybe?
Exactly.
One reviewer even mentioned
Yeah.
how Cheng puts in those tiny details
Like what kind of details?
of life in Australia during the pandemic.
Okay.
Masks, lockdowns, homeschooling, even people's obsession with daily exercise. Remember that?
Oh, I do.
It makes you wonder
If what?
if Cheng's trying to show us how
Mm,
something huge like a pandemic can make the problems families already have even worse.
that's a great point.
Right.
It's like the pandemic is this magnifying glass.
Yes.
Amplifying those existing tensions.
And speaking of tension,
Uh,
the reviews hint that the story unfolds with, like
oh.
secrets and resentments slowly coming out.
Ooh, juicy.
For example, there's a lot of mystery surrounding the baby's death.
Ah, right, the tragedy at the beginning.
And maybe, just maybe, Grandma had something to do with it.
No way.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
But these simmering tensions, they eventually explode, right?
Sounds dramatic.
Full-on confrontations
Yeah.
that totally change how the family interacts.
Wow. So Cheng isn't holding back.
Not at all.
It's interesting how many reviewers use words like
Like what?
raw or honest to talk about how she portrays grief.
Yeah, powerful words.
One even said the novel is unafraid to show the rawness of grief.
That's intense.
Like Cheng just dives right into the messy, complicated reality of what it means to lose someone.
Especially within a family,
Right, exactly.
which makes me even more curious about
About what?
Melanie Cheng herself.
Oh, yeah, the author.
She's not just a writer.
Really? What else?
She's a doctor, too.
Whoa, a doctor.
Yep, a general practitioner.
That's fascinating.
Makes you think, right?
It does.
Does her medical background influence how she writes?
Maybe.
Especially her ability to, capture how her characters feel and think?
It makes sense.
After all, she's probably seen similar things as a doctor.
Right.
People dealing with loss, trauma, complicated family situations.
No, definitely.
And about her writing,
Yeah.
her previous book, a collection of short stories
Okay.
called Australia Day.
Catchy title.
It won a big award, the Victorian Premier's Literary Award.
Wow. Impressive.
So we know she's talented.
Clearly.
She can tell stories that really stick with you.
That's what we want, right?
Exactly.
So it seems like with the Burrow, we're in for quite a ride.
It does, doesn't it?
Cheng seems to have this knack
A knack.
capturing those raw human elements,
Yeah.
both in her writing
Right.
and her work as a doctor.
But before we get too carried away,
Oh, what's up?
praising Cheng,
Okay.
I know what we should
Oh, you
mention.
did what?
We're seeing some, mixed reviews out there.
Oh, really?
Not everyone loves the Burrow,
Interesting.
which is important to remember, I think,
Why?
because, well, reading is so personal. What one person connects with
Yeah.
might not work for someone else.
Sure.
And those different opinions, that's part of what makes these deep dives so...
Interesting. Absolutely. It's like a conversation, right?
It is.
We get to explore all sides.
Exactly.
So let's unpack some of those mixed reactions and
cool.
see what we can learn from them.
Sounds good to me.
Great, let's do it. It seems some readers, they just didn't click with the characters.
Oh, interesting.
Or they thought the ending, well, wasn't satisfying enough.
I get that.
And others, they went in expecting something more experimental,
Oh, okay.
maybe a little surreal even.
Right, because of the themes of grief.
Exactly, and the rabbit being so symbolic.
It makes you realize how much what we expect
Yeah,
affects how we experience a book.
absolutely.
Sometimes a book just doesn't hit the mark,
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
But even those mixed reviews,
Yeah.
they help us understand the book's impact better.
That's true.
Right.
They do. They show us how the Burrow
Yeah.
can be interpreted in so many ways and how it evokes different emotions in everyone.
Makes it a book that sticks with you,
Definitely.
even after you've finished it.
Oh, for sure.
Makes you think.
For those of us who haven't read it yet,
Me included.
what are some of those details
What is the specifics?
that make this book so, well, thought-provoking?
Exactly.
Well, lots of reviewers mentioned how
Wow.
Cheng uses the rabbit's perspective
Oh, interesting.
to give us these, like, unique insights into the family.
So we're not just seeing the family from the outside.
No, not a
We're
lot.
seeing things through the rabbit's eyes.
In a way, yeah.
That's such a cool way to add depth.
It is, right.
And it makes sense.
How so?
Because we were talking about the rabbit being this symbol of healing.
Right, right.
And the reviews actually give examples of that happening.
Oh, give me an example.
Okay, so there's this scene where the father, Jin, he's watching the rabbit do those,
Who's what?
those happy little jumps, twists in the
Oh, I
air.
love when rabbits do that.
So playful.
Totally.
And instead of feeling, I don't know, resentful
Resentful one.
or jealous of the rabbit's freedom,
Okay.
Jin has this
This what?
profound moment.
A breakthrough, almost.
One reviewer even called it a seizure of the heart.
Wow, seizure of the heart.
Powerful, right?
It is.
It's like seeing the rabbit's pure joy
Yeah.
unlock something inside Jin.
Like he's allowed to feel again.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
And it's not just him.
Oh, who else?
There's another scene with Pauline, the grandmother.
Okay.
She's lying down with her granddaughter,
Oh,
comforting her.
that's sweet.
And one reviewer pointed out that it had been
It hit him what?
a long time since Pauline had been so physically affectionate.
So the rabbit's presence is softening her up a bit,
It seems like it.
allowing her to express that tenderness.
Which she normally keeps hidden.
Maybe, yeah.
It's as if the rabbit
The rabbit.
creates this ripple effect,
I like that, a ripple effect.
leading to these moments of connection, vulnerability,
where the family can start to
face
their grief.
and heal.
Right.
And remember, we talked about the pandemic setting.
Adding that extra layer.
It seems Cheng uses those pandemic details
How so?
to really dig into how outside circumstances affect family
Of
dynamics.
course, being stuck together during lockdown
Exactly.
forces the Lees to deal with those buried secrets.
Right, and the resentments we talked about.
Makes it almost impossible to avoid those issues.
It's like the pandemic is this
Yeah.
metaphorical pressure cooker,
Yes. Perfect analogy.
raising the stakes, and then
The rabbit arrives.
like a pressure valve.
Exactly. Releasing some of that pent-up tension.
So we have all these things intertwined,
Right.
external pressures, internal struggles,
Right.
and the rabbit, there in the middle.
Symbolizing so much.
It's no wonder the Burrow is so thought-provoking.
Right. And then there's this quote.
A quote from the book.
Yeah, about grief from Pauline, the grandmother.
Okay, what does she say?
She says, "You don't have a monopoly on grief, Amy.
Interesting.
We're all grieving today, every day."
Wow, that's powerful.
It really highlights
Uh-huh.
how grief is both personal
Right.
and something you share, especially in a family.
Each person in the Lee family,
Yeah.
they're hurting in their own way,
Uh-huh.
but they're also connected by this shared loss
That push and pull
between individual pain and collective grief.
seems to be at the heart of the novel.
Something Cheng explores really deeply, according to the reviews.
So putting it all together,
Okay.
what do we know about the Burrow?
Good question.
We have this family shattered by grief
Yeah.
A pandemic forcing them together.
Adding fuel to the fire.
A rabbit that represents both hope and fragility.
Right, those contrasting ideas.
And secrets that could destroy everything.
Sounds pretty intense.
Definitely an emotionally charged read.
Would you say?
Oh, absolutely.
And what's amazing is
amazing.
Cheng packs all of that into a pretty short novel.
Several reviewers mentioned that.
About how much she fits into each page.
It shows she's a master of concise storytelling.
Now I'm really intrigued.
Me too. What stood out to you the most?
For me, it's how Cheng uses the rabbit.
Yeah.
To show those unexpected moments.
Moments of
grace, connection, even when things are tough.
Like a little ray of light.
Exactly.
It reminds us that even in the midst of loss
and family drama,
healing can happen in the most surprising ways.
I love that idea. That something as simple as caring for a rabbit
can lead to such profound changes.
It really makes you think. It's like the Burrow is showing us how those small moments, the ones we don't always notice.
The quiet ones?
Yeah, they can have a big impact.
Huge.
And this deep dive, it's made me think about...
About what?
How we interact with animals.
Especially pets.
Yeah, how it can reveal so much about what's going on inside us.
You're right. It's like a reflection.
If you think about it, the way we take care of a pet.
The things we worry about with them.
The things we notice about them.
It all gives us clues about our own emotional state.
Exactly. So I'm wondering...
What are you wondering?
Could we look at the Burrow that way?
How do you mean?
Like if we examine how each person in the Lee family interacts with the rabbit, would that help us understand how they're dealing with their grief individually?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right.
It is.
For instance, Jin.
The father.
Right. He's so careful with the rabbit's hutch.
He is.
Maybe that shows his need for control.
Control.
In a world that feels out of control.
Because of the grief, the pandemic.
Yeah, all of it.
I see your point.
And Amy, the mother.
What about her?
She's scared of the rabbit escaping.
Oh, right.
Does that symbolize her fear of losing something else precious?
After already losing her daughter.
Right. It's like a recurring nightmare.
And Pauline.
The grandmother.
Yeah. How does she fit in?
At first, she doesn't want the rabbit there at all.
Interesting.
Could that be because she's afraid of change?
Or maybe vulnerability?
Wow, these are some great questions.
What are they?
I'm already looking at the novel in a new way.
Me too. And the cool thing is...
What's the cool thing?
This is just the start.
The tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. There's so much more to explore in the Burrow itself.
We've just skimmed the surface.
But hopefully this deep dive has given you a taste of what the novel's about.
The themes, the emotions, the big questions it asks.
About grief, family, and how we find comfort.
So if you're looking for a book...
It'll stay with you.
A story that explores relationships...
with honesty and depth.
Then the Burrow might be just what you need.
And once you've read it...
we want to know what you think.
What resonated with you?
Was there a character or scene that stood out?
Because remember...
every reader brings something different to the table.
And those different perspectives...
they make these deep dives so much richer.
This deep dive...
it's really just a starting point.
A launch pad for your own journey into the Burrow.
So go ahead, dive in.
Get lost in the story.
And when you're done...
come back and share your discoveries with us.
happy reading.